Hey everybody, SinTax77 back with you for another installment of SinChats. And for this week's episode, the topic was made pretty easy for me. I was on my Facebook page, SinTax77 on Facebook. Got a little page over there for the last 9 months or so. And I usually post pictures, maybe a link here or there, and then also my videos. And for the last SinChats that I did, I was talking about the possibility of going back to the Sawyer Squeeze from the Mini. And I threw that up and I got some cool feedback, and then one of them was a little bit shorter and succinct than the other ones. Stan H wrote one that caught my eye. It just simply said, boring. So I said, okay, I'll respond. A little constructive criticism is fine. I said, ouch, suggestion for next week? And then I also did kind of throw in, maybe we can get away from all this outdoors nonsense and do a little Kardashian talk. I hear Kim got a new dress. Winky face. But seriously, I was kind of asking him, hey, what do you want to see? Let's talk about it. Well, Stan H never got back to me. But Brett Cook, who's had some other good conversations with me on Facebook as well, said, not agreeing with the boring statement. Points there. Stoking the ego. Thank you. But how about some of the best and worst experiences on a solo hike? We all know about Mike's worst experience, wet bag. He's referring to the Sub-Zero video. As well as his second worst, forgot hiking boots. He's referring there to the Linville Gorge video where Mike we realized he didn't have his hiking boots at the trailhead after like an hour on a gravel road that I should have driven a Jeep on instead of my VW. So going back to civilization was not an option. And he hiked in slippers. Mike did. So he says, we know Mike's worst experiences. How about you? And I said, that's a great idea for a video. Let's do it. And then let's also get some conversation, some feedback from the viewers. I'm sure they got some good stories too. So I figure I'll pick a few out of my head here. I'll be honest with you. And I am being honest. I've never had a trip where I'm like, oh my God, that was terrible. I've had some experiences that were really tough. I've had some individual moments that were terrible. But never a terrible, terrible trip. So these incidents that I'm going to bring up, I still had fun. But if you stress me or push me to come up with some ideas, I will do so. And the first one that comes to mind, these are in no particular order. I guess I'll go back to older videos first. The Wild River Wilderness video that Mike and I did a couple years back now. We went up there, New Hampshire's Wild River. I specifically looked up a trail that was pretty isolated and remote. Took some days off. Actually, it was a quick old school trip. We went up, we only had 2 days off. 2 days, 1 night. We go up, of course, it rains the entire time. That was not actually the bad part. I think it put Mike in a little bit of a bad mood, but it was warm weather. It didn't kill me. But what ended up happening was, and back then I had a heavier loadout. And much heavier than nowadays. So kind of like I talked about in one of my previous SinChats videos, back then I did use hiking poles, but we had just crested up to the top of Carter Dome, real close to the top where it's kind of flattening out. It was my first time on Carter Dome. Couldn't tell you what it looks like until at least over a year or two later when I went back by myself on a different trip, because when Mike and I went in this rain, just socked in by fog, couldn't see more than feet in front of us. I'm sure I'm exaggerating. It feels like 2 feet in front of me. It was probably 15 or 30, whatever. Never even knew there was a view off of Carter Dome, put it that way. I have my hiking poles attached to my pack. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did have them on this trip. So they're attached to my pack, but I know they're not in my hands because we're in this flat section, and I'm thinking that's fine. And then I hit a slippery rock, and I twist my knee, and I go down, and I don't just twist my knee and fall on the grass or even the rocks, but there is a broken, about 2.5 feet tall, maybe 6 inch at the most in diameter, like maple tree stump that had been broken off. So it was all like just pointy and shards of goodness. And I landed directly on that with my chest. Proceed to scream like the tough hiker that I am. Mike turns around, thinks that I'm broken my leg. I'm thinking not even about my leg. I'm thinking that I punctured my lung. It just hurts so bad. The pain in my chest eventually went away, but that's when I realized I pretty much twisted the heck out of my knee, or more than the heck. Keeping it G-rated here. And the rest of that trip, I was just hiking with my knee in pain, and then it started tightening up on the next day on the way out. And I literally, no exaggeration, I don't know how much I talked about it in the video, maybe a little bit, but I was literally going up to tree stumps, like there's obstructions in the trail, and lifting my leg over it because it was just completely, it was completely stupid. So I'm lifting, dragging my leg, and it was terrible. So that was not a great experience, but builds character. Okay, so there's that one, the Wild River experience with the twisted knee. And then next I would think Kentucky, Red River Gorge. It's October. It's actually close to November. I remember my wife was in Miami with the girls for Halloween party. And I said, I'm going to Kentucky for a few days. So I'm down there. Everything's cool. Everything's going great. And but this was back when I used my stock suspension on my Hennessy Hammock. So that is basically, for those who don't know, just a single piece of rope that comes right off, and you have some webbing straps like seat buckle material that go around the tree. They're real short, like 3 feet, and you just run this rope right from the Hennessy Hammock into the straps, and you do this figure-8 lashing thing that I have no problem that I don't use it anymore. It was a little tedious, but won't get into that. Point of the story is I had that, so basically just a rope go into these straps on the tree, and then I also used snake skins back then for the whole rig. So I got my snake skins, and I don't have a lot of room between these trees. So the snake skins are bunched up, but they're pretty much, if I remember correctly, practically touching the tree, and they're running down and under the tarp. And I didn't pay a lot of attention to things like this, water breaks and things like this happening. So it's running down to my hammock basically and resting against the hammock. These snake skins are like this material that can bunch up your tarp and stuff. So anyway, what happens in the middle of the night, it starts raining. It wasn't terribly cold, but early November, late October, I think it was, I don't know, probably in the 40s that night or something. Rain starts coming down the trunk. It's coming down good. I hear it in and out of sleep. Go back to sleep at one point. Start waking up, I'm like, my back feels a little wet. This is weird. I might even pass out again. Come back, awake again. A little bit later. All right, now I'm wet. So what had happened was, in retrospect, I don't even think I could clearly think of it then, but now I definitely know what happened. It ran down the tree. It started collecting perfectly in the snake skins, which almost made like a little water chute, and they ran down under the tarp right to my hammock and started seeping in through the mesh and along the zipper there. And once that water had a nice path, all the water from that tree, or a large percentage of it, was coming right into my hammock. Not fun. So a whole bag was wet. Now back then, this is actually a blessing. I didn't have top quilts, fancy down, or any of that. I just used a sleeping pad inside and a synthetic sleeping bag, which thankfully, much heavier, but still works when wet. So I spent the rest of the night, I just slept in the wet sleeping bag. Once my body heat warmed it up, a warm, wet bag, it wasn't as bad as you might think, but it was still like, God, you know, that feeling that you screwed up, and you could be dry and a little more comfortable. Next day, woke up, and then again, luckily it was synthetic because I let it dry while I was breaking camp, or at least hang out, and then when I got to camp the next night, I let it hang on a tree in the sunlight. And again, that's I call that a terrible experience or a bad mistake or whatever, but it actually ended up being really cool the next day when I got it dried out and I knew I got through it, and I probably felt better than I would have if I hadn't have made that mistake in a weird way. So anyway, okay, 2 more. Let's do 2 more. These next 2 ones are winter. One you know about, I'll get to that last, and one I've never actually there was no allusion to it or mention of it in the video for reasons that I'll mention in a second. The Adirondacks winter hammock camping video. I go up to the Adirondacks. I have this trip planned. It was a 2-night trip, 3 days in winter in the Adirondacks. Snowshoeing trip, frozen lakes, beautiful. Ended up being great. But a couple days, like right before I get ready to go up there, some stuff comes up that my wife has to deal with. It's just adult price of being an adult. Just things come up that you have to attend to sometimes. But it was something that I felt like I could help her with. So I'm like, you know, all right, I'm going to stay home. The heck with this trip. Do it some other time. Again, without getting into all the boring details, she's like, you know what? I got this. Seriously, go. Back and forth. I'm like, really? She's like, really? Seriously? There's nothing you could do anyway, and I got this. I'm like, all right. So I drive up there, go to the Adirondacks, sleep up there in the car, wake up the next morning. All this is on the video, but what's not on the video, and I always feel kind of bad about this. I've thought about it before because I try to keep my videos as real as possible. Obviously, they're edited for time and to make them fun to watch, but I really try to portray exactly what happened on that trip. And on this one, it didn't, because there was no filming of this and I didn't talk about it. So it just never made it in a video. I got out of the car after I did the intro to the video, got dressed, start going into the woods, trudging along. Oh my God, it's like bitter cold. Come around the first turn, there's a first beautiful view of this mountain just poking up in the Adirondacks here. I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. But the first feeling in my head is not, oh my God, it's just not that normal feeling of, oh my God, that's beautiful. I was just like, oh, I shouldn't be here. This is a weird feeling. So I go a couple more steps and I know what's happening in my head, and then it starts kicking in more, and I'm like, you know what, I can't do this, I'm going. I'm less than a mile in, for sure. I'm probably a quarter mile in. I mean, I'm not far from the car at all. I'm just starting to get into the woods. So I turn around. I go back to my car. There's no cell service there or anything, so I can't call my wife yet. I throw my gear in the car. I start driving home. I'm on the road. Eventually, I see there's cell service. I pull the car over, which ends up being a good thing. But I pull it over because I'm like, I'd rather just talk safely. And I'm not going to lie to you, like I never talk and drive. But in this instance, I was like, I'll pull over and talk so I can focus. And I don't know if I'm going to lose service again. Talk to my wife. I call her. She's like, what are you doing? Why are you calling? Is something wrong? I'm like, no, but XYZ, I'm not feeling it. I'm coming back. I should help you, and I'm just not feeling it. My head's not there. My head is not in the game. She talks me off the ledge, and she's like, I'm telling you for the last time, I'm good. I'll probably be she might have used the word upset. I'll probably be more sad if you came back and missed your trip than if you didn't. So I was like, okay. She talks me, everything's smooth over, head clears, much better mindset, turn around, drive like the half hour back to the trailhead, and do the video from there. And I didn't film any of that. I didn't document it. And then once I put that out of my head, I just went ahead with filming the trip and really put it behind me. So that's why there was no allusion to it on the video. And really, I mean, it didn't really fit the narrative. It would have been a little weird for a casual viewer for me to start talking about all that. So that's a little tidbit for you there. But that ended up being a great trip. Fourth thing I'll give you, this actually was documented, and if you've seen a video already, you've already heard this, so I'll keep it brief, but on my Mount Washington winter ascent video that I just did in February, I already mentioned it on that video. When I was coming down on the Lion's Head winter route, just really got demoralized, just was tired, and I'd never cramponed before. It's like the steel cleats for going up ice. Was coming down, was just spent. It was great. It was amazing at the top, but I'm coming down and it's just like going up was bad enough. Coming down, I was like, I don't even know how I got up this, let alone how I'm getting down it. I mean, it was steep and icy. Going really slow, holding on the roots. I got my ice axe, but I don't have a backpack that's really meant to hold it. So I'm holding that in my hand and trying to climb down. There's groups going by me. Well, actually one coming behind me. It ended up being a guided tour. I'm thinking, okay, I'll just stand here and get my morale up by watching them because they seem to be moving a bit faster. Let's see what they're doing. Get my head straight here. Well, they come down, and what do? I notice at this point it's a guided tour, like 2 guides and 5 dudes that probably paid several $100s a piece. They bust out a rope, tie it to a tree, Guy uses that for support, goes down. Next guy goes down. I'm like, oh man, that's how they're doing it. I don't have a rope. I don't have a rope. Oh, it was crushing. And sure enough, they get done. And watching them untie that rope and it slither away as they continued on it was just a punch in the gut to watch that rope go away. So I stood there a little longer. And by the way, I don't blame them. I mean, they pay good money for those guides. And the part of what you're paying for is that you have your own expert, and they're not going to stop and help some other idiot on the trail who didn't bring a rope, which you don't need to do this, but it does make it easier. So anyway, I'm standing, totally crushed. Then another couple guys come by, and I notice on the way down, he just takes his ice axe, slips it into his backpack just along his back, carefully, and just gets his hands, both hands, goes down. I'm probably not really describing it, but the point of the story is that right there clicked, and now I'm just like, yeah, wait, I can do this. So I do it. It's like the hardest part they call it the Hillary step of the Lion's Head winter route. It's the toughest part of it. It's not like Everest, but it's the toughest part. It's pretty straight down. So anyway, I do that. I climb down, both hands, carefully, hop down. Again, like I said before, once I got down and knew I got over that, and it was pretty much smooth sailing back to my camp with some nice chili waiting for me, dehydrated, I felt amazing. So again, that wasn't a bad trip. That was a bad little blip on the radar, but it actually, look, I'm talking about it now, building memories. So those are my 4 stories. You can actually notice that those last 2 stories and my probably lowest points were both in winter. Probably not a coincidence. There's something about cold, man, that really plays with your mind a lot more. When you're bitter cold, it's a lot easier for something that might not normally put you over the edge to put you over the edge. I'm just kind of noticing that now as I tell these stories. But anyway, yeah, I hope I didn't bore you to death there. Kind of went off, but those are my my stories I picked out of my hat. So I do want to thank Brett C. once again for giving me the idea for this video. Much appreciated. And yeah, what are your low points on the trail, or maybe mistakes, or things where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I'm such a bonehead. But then afterwards, you felt good. Or maybe afterwards you didn't feel good. Give me some stories where you're like, no, I'm never doing that again. Or I'm never winter camping again, or I'm never doing this region again, or I did learn from it. Whatever. Share your stories if you want. I'm kind of interested to hear them in the comment section below. And that's that. So until next time, I'm Syntax77. Have fun out there.